Now, I guess the next $1 million question is, who wins this fight?
Yeah. So, regardless of what I seen at the press conference and how confident Ryan looked in himself, and he's kind of starting to make me believe in him,
Mm-hmm.
But I still have to lean with Gervonta Tank Davis. I
Okay.
just think he's the better fighter, the more well-rounded fighter. Now, I don't think it's going to be a walk in the park by any stretch. But a couple of things that Ryan does that worries me is he tends to fight with his foot on the inside. And when you're orthodox, you're fighting southpaw. It's a chess match between
Yeah.
who has the advantage with the outer foot. Ryan tends to give that up just naturally, right? He did it a lot in the Luke Campbell fight. Luke Campbell was a southpaw, and Ryan just gives up that position a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that can be very dangerous, especially against Tank. And then sometimes I think Ryan kind of like overextends, and I think it has to do with that same footing position that I'm talking about. So sometimes he has to like overextend with the right, and he's off balance. And I think if you overextend, being the taller fighter, you tend to come down. And I think if he comes down, it just puts him in range for that left hand. And we know Tank hits hard with both hands, so it doesn't really matter which hand he gets hit with. But I just think he has some habits that hopefully he cleans up before this fight that can put him in some dangerous situations. And I mean, Tank has some habits too. I'll get into those later. But right now I'm picking Tank, and I want to hear who you're picking to win.
Yeah. I think I'll also have to go with Tank. I just think Tank is the more complete fighter.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that, along with his punching power, he has great IQ, ring generalship. He just understands from a cerebral standpoint how to pick his opponents apart. Whether it's, he knows he can take his opponent's punches, walk them down, or kind of fight on the back foot like he did with Rolly Romero, Pitbull Cruz. Now, with Ryan, my biggest issue with Ryan is kind of falls in line with what you were saying in terms of, the front foot. But mostly for me, Ryan is too flat-footed.
Mm-hmm.
He relies a lot on his speed, that left hook especially, and he keeps his chin up a lot of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like he keeps his chin up a lot of times, and Luke Campbell made him pay for that, right? So especially when he's throwing, he fights tall, and that could be to his advantage to a degree. But when you're throwing looping hooks and you got your chin up all the time, and if you throw that right hand, especially the right cross, Gervonta could come up with an uppercut, right? Slip uppercut, or he could just kind of pick you apart, body shot, right? So I think clearly his biggest weapon is that left hook. And I think everybody knew it. They was going back and forth about, Tank would say, you only got that left hook, but even with knowing that, it's still a deadly force, right?
Everybody knew it coming in.
Everybody knew it. Right. That's like the mantle, in that camp, right? Or within his arsenal. But I'm just gonna go with Tank. I just, that punching power is just ridiculous, So yeah, I gotta go with Tank.
Yeah, and to go with what I was mentioning before, then I'm gonna give you a chance to go. The things that worry me about Tank is I think Tank has like a very good high guard, but sometimes Tank does this weird thing where he kind of like becomes lazy with the high guard. He puts himself on the ropes, like for no apparent reason. And then I think someone like Ryan that can give Ryan a chance to kind of tee off on him, and then he could land something big, or he could just get points for activity.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And then the other thing about Tank and going back to that left hand is just being a southpaw with the right in front. Sometimes Tank fights and I see him kind of duck to the right like this, sometimes to get out of the way of a punch. But think about him being a southpaw when he leans forward to the right like that.
Yeah.
Orthodox fighter, the left is right there.
Right there.
And
that's
that left hand is dangerous.
Lightning.
So those are some things that worry me on Tank's end. That could be in Ryan's favor. Like, so anything Tank does that concerns you a little bit that you think Ryan could take advantage of?
That's a good question. I think you were probably more insightful than I can be, right? Because I don't know what Ryan could do to really, kind of keep Tank off of him, unless Tank's game plan is, because this could be a possibility, right? That Ryan hits Tank with some shit or hit him with a bomb and then causes Tank to be like, you know what, I got to fight in the back foot. I got to start counter punching, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. That can work to Ryan's advantage to a degree because he's the faster fighter, especially with his hooks. He's just a faster fighter.
Mm-hmm.
But just because you throw punches faster don't mean that you could kind of maneuver or slip punches faster, right? So I just think a major advantage that he has, he can beat Tank to the punch when it comes to kind of colliding, right? But that requires Tank to kind of fall asleep or fall into that, right? If he's baiting him, now outside of that, I don't really see anything that Tank will probably give up, right? Like a massive disadvantage or a disadvantage just in general that he'll just give Ryan, right? I don't really see it at this point in time. And maybe I just gotta, watch some more film on Tank, right? So that can be a possibility too. So
yeah, that's kind of where I'm at now. You know how I am when the fights are, and I go into the lab and I start downloading the data and I start like watching. I was like watching some Ryan Garcia stuff, and that's when I kind of noticed that. I watched just a lot of Tank fights, so I just kind of know that. But I was kind of doing my research on Ryan Garcia. I know like it looks like one thing that Luke Campbell kind of got him with was like some feints, feints that kind of got him, and that's what landed that punch that put him down. But since then, Ryan's kind of been keeping that, tucked to his chin right here. He's been keeping it like glued there. So I know that's in the back of his mind. So obviously he is trying to make improvements, and I can always respect that in a fighter. Hey, this is where I messed up in the past, so I'm gonna work on this and try to improve. But still, with that being said, I am still picking Tank, but I am still in the lab doing my homework, watching the fights. Kind of similar to what I did when the Canelo Bivol fight was announced.
Right.
Yeah. So right now I'm just in the lab doing the work, trying to see what I see on both ends.
Gotcha. Yo, viewers, make sure write in the comments who y'all got winning. I know some of y'all don't have Ryan Garcia.
Method of victory.
Yeah. And whether you feel like it's gonna go to distance, it's gonna go 12.
Yeah.
I think most people's probably gonna say it's gonna be a stoppage. But you just never know.
Yeah.
You're gonna have some people that's gonna say Ryan, in 12 or Ryan by stoppage,
I want to hear it all. Let me know so I can take those picks to FanDuel,
Take those picks to FanDuel and come back out stressing about to off yourself.
I'm not even going to get into FanDuel. They didn't stress me out too much, man.
Oh, man.